お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Boomered it. Hey guys, it's Kaiser Pineapple. How you doing? It's Thursday, December 1st. It is officially the start of the Christmas season, and I'm excited for it. You know, it's just a good, cheerful time of year, and I gotta love it. So, pardon me, still sounding a little cruddy, but otherwise, I'm doing all right. Got my hot tea at the ready. Does kind of help a little bit. So we are ready to go ahead and get started back on the Warforged Titan. So this guy has been a lot of fun just in the first episode we did. Tonight we are going to get cracking on some of these details here. There we go. Get a nice up close look there. Get some of these details started. As you can see, we've got a lot of ground to cover in there. Try and get some of those filled in. You can see some of the detail work we did on the axe from on Tuesday. Okay, that's not going to focus. Oh well, I tried. Hey, look at me! Look at me! Yeah! I know, giant nerd. Whatever. Anyway, so tonight we are going to get rolling on this. So there was some talk earlier today that if some folks show up and actually want to ask about it, I might have a couple of anecdotal stories about why I left a certain hobby/profession in my early 20s. And no, before you go making a joke, no, actually, there was a time in my life I actually used to do, a little bit of work here, just this and that with paranormal stuff. And then I also, I got interested in it. It was pretty fascinating. And then because of my interest, I ended up having a couple of experiences that really changed my life and changed my views on the subject itself. Not really for the better either. So after those, I quit. If somebody wants to show up and actually comment and ask me about it, I could be inclined, persuaded to talk more about it. But that is a subject that will require actual people to be here, and that giant bottle of Woodford Reserve over there on the shelf, if I can remember that my camera is not mirrored, so everything is all wonky. So anyway, that's good tea, but I'm thinking tomorrow because it seems to be all concentrated in my chest right now. I mean, I can breathe fine, but it's still getting stuck on my vocal cords and stuff. So I am very seriously considering going to the pharmacy tomorrow to pick up some Mucinex D, because I can't do regular Mucinex with the Guaifenesin. It does really nothing for me, and I cannot have anything with DM or dextromethorphan because it makes me feel like I want to die. Anyway, so that is all that. We got a little bit of that out of the way. I don't know if some of you have been paying attention to the news lately, but holy crap, things are just getting wild and wilder and wilder and wilder by the day. And I don't know what else to really say about everything other than just what the hell I mean, what timeline are we living in that things like this are happening? Because without going into details and stuff like that, you just kind of look at the general news feed, especially today, and it's just like, what the heck is going on? I'm starting more and more to buy into Flux's idea that somehow by turning on the Large Hadron Collider, we might have entered an alternate dimension timeline or something. It's a strange idea, but honestly, as crazy as everything gets by the day, it's sounding more and more believable. Those of you who don't know, I kind of, got my start really from some I guess you could say advice from a couple of different YouTube channels. One of them being, of course, Mercado Law, and then the channel I tend to watch more often than not is Jeff over at Legal Vices, and it really was his streams, his channel, and just the kind of positive attitude that he's got that really kind of pushed me to say, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go ahead and try my hand at this, try doing this streaming thing. So that right there was kind of like the genesis of my channel. And yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. I have a global audience with my YouTube channel, and they just watch me have a complete and total brain meltdown. Yeah. Is it the weekend yet? That's all I got to say. Is it the weekend yet? I'm about to crack into that thing right up there. I'm like this close to cracking into that thing. Most I've had so far was I made a hot toddy earlier, and that was it. Yeah, so anyway. Oh, I think I remember where I was going with what I was talking about earlier. So anyway, yeah, I kind of started my channel on the advice from Legal Vice's channel and Nick Ricada's channel, and somebody else who started her channel a couple of days before me, but is a fantastic YouTuber and is on her way up, is Flux. I will drop some information in the comment section or something like that, with information to go to her channel, because she does painting, but she does more canvas work and stuff like that. So I enjoy watching it. It's fun. She's just a generally fun person to listen to, and I like to lurk in the chat just because it's fun. It's a good stream. There's a lot of good folks there, but yeah, it's been interesting to see my own channel kind of slowly crawling off the starting line and just kind of going, man, this looks like it could be so much fun, and I'm excited. As much as I want the instant gratification of an audience, live audience now, and people to talk to and stuff to do and whatnot. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy this. It's kind of quiet, laid back a little bit here. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to another YouTuber who's actually started a couple of days before I did and is doing fantastic work. So please definitely go out and check out Flux. That is FLUXX. She's fantastic, does a lot of really cool painting stuff, and has just generally a more laid back laid back viewing experience. So anyway, that's getting the the pre-stream yakety yak out of the way. So let's get into it, because that's what you came to see anyway. Please pardon me. I will probably still cough and sound like death, but I'm going to try not to bore you with it too much, which is part of the reason why I got my tea there. So, all right, there we go. I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit so that my ADD and OCD and whatever LCD, DVD, HD, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, isn't so bothered by the fact that the squares are slightly off. All these squares make a circle. All these squares make a circle. All these squares make a circle. If you know that reference. All right. So, see if we can center things so that way we get a little more focus. Adjust my light a little bit. Maybe that'll help. I just got an overhead desk light, which is what I'm using. So it's going to be a little, burning in hot, but that's just so that way I can see what I'm doing. There we go. That might work a little bit better. I got a little block of foam here that I can set this on occasionally and maneuver around if I have to. All right, so I'm already seeing some spots like right here and a little bit right down here and kind of on the back of some of these edges here that I didn't quite get with the bronze. So we're going to mix up a little bit of that real quick, and we're going to hit those little bits so that way we can make sure that we get good coverage. And I don't really need a lot of this tonight because we already did the majority of the work. Excuse me. All right. And as far as like my paint mixes go, I mix completely freehand. I'm not so super worried about having enough that, I'm going to mix like a giant tub of whatever color I need unless I actually know that I'm going to need it for certain. I mean, as it is, I've probably mixed up far more than I really need for this project. So we're just going to touch the back edges there. We're going to cover up those little gaps and imperfections that I just noticed there. There's a little bit under that arm. Looks like I have a fingerprint up here on his shoulder pad. We'll take that off. There's a little bit of schmutz. That's the technical term. I like to get all kinds of technical, and I'm sure that at some point I will go down a technical rabbit hole of talking about something or other. I actually was in the car today thinking about this stream and thinking about working on the axe head here and what colors and stuff I wanted to paint it, because I had a little bit of an epiphany about the hammerhead. And my little epiphany about the hammerhead was that originally I wanted to paint it to look like stone. And After a little bit of mental exercise and debate, I kind of came to the conclusion that that's actually a very bad and dumb idea. Now, I know it's supposed to be a miniature for a fantasy series, so I can really just kind of do whatever the heck I want. I can just kind of, fill in the gaps with, saying, why does this, stone not break under forces that would normally break a stone of its same type and composition? Well, easy way to explain it is just magical bullshit plot armor. Well, at the risk of trying to not pull that card too many times as a dungeon master, I like to actually have some level of realism or at least some level of logic to what I'm doing and why I'm doing specifically what I'm doing. So having a stone hammerhead there, just after really considering it, was like, yeah, that's a bad idea. Stone is not super rigid. It can break, that kind of thing. So I thought to myself, hey, well, maybe I could make this out of the hammerhead out of adamantine, which would be very interesting indeed, because adamantine, for those of you who don't know, in D&D, now, more often than not these days, 5th edition and whatnot, adamantine is usually just applied to armor and that kind of thing. It's a quality that mostly just applied to armor stats. Now, don't get me wrong. It's fine for what it is. But there used to be a time when it could be used for weapon construction as well. Now, I'm not going to go into the explanation of what adamantine is in the D&D context. It's a little bit different than what you're thinking, and no, it's not anything comic booky or whatever. It's actually just somebody wanted to stick it in the book and in the games and just make it a thing. So they did, and they gave it special properties, and some of those special properties make sense in some of the older editions, but then in the new 5th edition, it just kind of, they were like, magical bullshit armor. Somehow, nowadays, adamantine can just negate critical hits from happening on your character. Which is fine. Don't get me wrong, it's fine. But it does make it somewhat of kind of a situational thing. Now, trust me, nobody wants to get critted in the middle of combat, especially if you're if you're the squishy whatever character you're playing on the field. But what I will say is that there used to be adamantine as a construct idea for weapons back in the old D&D days. And so adamantine, as it's discussed, is just basically a super dense, very hard, very tough sort of metal. But one of the main, I guess you could say, qualities about it is that it's very dark. So I'm mixing a little bit of pearl black with a little bit of this nice dark gunmetal. And we are going to paint this up with that and make it nice and dark looking. Actually, I want a little more dark. And yes, I am going to use this probably in a couple of other areas. So mixing up this amount is not a big deal. I'm not going to end up really wasting a whole lot of paint. Thank God, because paint's expensive, especially model paints. Which is why you can see a lot of my paints. I actually just get acrylics from Hobby Lobby and whatnot, because I can get a tube of this stuff for like, $2-3, about like a little over $1 for like flat acrylic colors and that kind of thing. Whereas on this little guy right here at Hobby Store cost me almost $7. Don't get me wrong, I love hobby stores, and I am not under any way or shape or form trying to throw my local one under the bus. I get it, but yeah, it's one of those where if you're just going to buy those exclusive model paints, yeah, you're going to end up getting paying an arm and a leg just for paint. Whereas you can get really about the same quality, and you can kind of do your own, mixes and thinners and stuff like that to get the right consistencies. Everything from, just using a standard, brush like this, all the way to doing airbrush work with the same, vial of color that you get from the hobby, or from Hobby Lobby or something. I've actually got quite a few resin figure models that I've done in the past, pretty much entirely with these types of paints, and they've come out extremely well. All right, I got a nice little sheen going on this hammerhead. I'm trying to make sure I got just enough on there where I cover all the bits that I need, and I think I just need to let my inner perfectionist shut up and just let it set, which is a common thing for me. All right. So the axe head here, we're actually going to do this one up with a little bit of this same adamantine color. And then we're going to actually recolor the blade with a slightly lighter. I'm going to use just the straight gunmetal on the edge. Anyway, I probably got off topic earlier. I was talking about adamantine and how I was doing this stuff. But anyway, so I kind of got into this thought regarding the types of materials to use and whatnot. Like what, the Warforged Titans were built by House Caneth, really during the early stages of the last war in Eberron lore. And one of the things that was quite fascinating there is that, they built these, and they were really just very basic, more or less just dumb golems. And they had to be operated and controlled. They had to have a, for lack of a better word, a controller or some kind of accompanying soldier that could basically tend to it and properly give it directions, because otherwise it was, the Warforged Titans were basically just, for lack of a better term, they're almost mindless, killing machines. And So when I started thinking about like construction wise and everything, I mean, at this point, the Warforged Titans are almost completely gone. They were replaced with the modern Warforged design. And the modern Warforged design came out about 30 years prior to the start of the Eberron timeline, at least in the Rising from the Last War book, from the D&D guys there at Wizards. So the way Keith Baker, the original maestro who created it, wrote, basically the timeline for Eberron picks up in 998 YK. YK being their calendar equivalent to AD, BC, etc. And one of the things that was essentially noticed was that, of course, the Warforged Titans pretty much all were used up, scrapped or whatever. There are a handful that are still in service. Most of them have apparently gone to the Mournland, where they are actually now fielded and serviced and whatnot by members of the Blades, or the organization run by the Warforged, named the Lord of Blades. So it would seem that in the years intervening between the war and whatnot, it would probably be one of those where they want to do some upgrades to this thing, was how I kind of thought processed. So in this particular case, they've upgraded with an adamantine hammerhead and adamantine axe head. Now the adamantine axe head has two different metals. It's kind of a sandwich, like a typical axe head design. You have basically 2 layers of you have 2 layers of kind of a softer metal and then a harder metal in the middle. So I decided that this middle layer would be, basically hardened adamantine, which would always kind of be in the white a little bit. So it would be a little bit lighter than this. We'll just imagine that, of course, once I get done putting additional colors and everything on, it's going to have a little bit of wear and patina and that kind of thing. So this outer edge is going to be, or this inner edge is going to be a little bit lighter in color. But otherwise, it's a dark metal. And because adamantine has such an extreme hardness compared to other metals, it's less prone to breakage and whatnot. But it is highly prized. It's expensive stuff. So you wouldn't put this on just some rando. So I was making it so that because this guy is one of the last Warforged Titans, really, one of the last original ones, he's going to have a little bit of, him and his handler are going to have a little bit of clout. That's just my headcanon anyway. So, yep, in typical fashion, I overthink everything way too much. All right. So, now we've got those in and drying. It's actually time to go ahead and do a little bit of work with some of our flats. I want to get some of these details started on the inner workings and whatnot. So for that, I'm going to start with a little bit of this dark anthracite gray. I don't want to use black, like straight black, because straight black just doesn't look natural. I know that might sound weird, but yeah, it's true. Straight black does not look natural, especially on model kits and miniatures and whatnot. And this brush is just a little bit too thick for what I need to do. All right, I think this brush bristles are a little stiff. I need to wet them down so I don't end up cracking them or anything like that. There we go. Yeah, I think I'll just pass on that one. I probably got something in those bristles that needs to get a little more thorough work done. This is more of a lining brush. It's got longer bristles. This might actually do better in this particular case. So we're gonna go in here. Yeah, that works a whole lot better. Yeah, I'll have to make a couple extra passes compared to the other brush, but I don't have to worry so much about getting stuff outside of where I want it. All right, there's a couple little holes back here, the corners of the mouth, or at least around the mouth. You say they're visible on this side. They are not visible on this side because his head is slightly turned. Okay, there are some runic symbols here. Those I'm going to actually do up with a little bit of color later on. There we go. There's some spots right here that need filling in. Yeah, we're adding these colors because we want to add depth to what we have, but we also don't want it to look outlandishly dark. And getting into these little corners and little lines is not easy to do. At least it's not easy to do and, not get not get a little overzealous. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at my source image here. Again, this is the source image I'm using. It's on the back of the Nosler's box. Now, I'm not trying to make this exact to what it shows here. Come on. Yeah, I'm not trying to make it exact, but I want to make it close to. Alright, so I got the bottom side of this. And it seems like our anthracite gray is drying a little faster than we anticipated. Also, just notice that my air conditioner is still on. Try and knock out some of that excess noise. So in this particular case, I want to add just the tiniest amount of like a thinner to this. So that way we get a little bit more flexibility with what we're working with. And that did not go at all the way I planned. Aha, okay. So apparently that particular type of thinner and that particular type of paint do not react well together. That's news to me because it just hardened and clumped all of it together. Well, I think that's just a kick in the pants. Yeah, it just completely clumped all of it together, and now it's, that's weird. I've never seen that happen with that particular paint before. mean, I've got some Tamiya thinner, but usually Tamiya thinner does not like anything besides Tamiya paint. So rather than risk that, I'm just going to try and I might just have to use just a little tiny bit of water. Get my little dropper here. Yeah, that's a little better. It did lighten it up a little bit, which I don't particularly want, so we're going to add a drop of black wash, actually 2 drops. And that should darken it up some more. Okay, not quite as dark as I was hoping, so we're going to add just a drop of paint, that is. There we go. That definitely had the effect that I was looking for. Nice and thin, but we've got a nice dark consistency. Okay, yeah, that will work out just nicely. So what we're doing here is less of actually painting in these things and just letting the letting the liquid do the work, letting gravity kind of fill this crevice. Sometimes we need to guide it just a smidge. And there's a little excess on that. I can always clear that off. It's not a big deal. A little bit in between there. I can just wipe that off. And there we get a little bit more definition right in between those lines. If we ever get to the point where I can financially justify upgrading my StreamYard and whatnot, I would love to get the ability to not only one, have a second camera so you can see my face at all times in one camera and what I'm working on in the other, but also the handy little feature of being able to, broadcast in higher definition. Because right now I'm relegated to 720p. And if I upgrade, I can do 1080. With the right equipment, I can probably do 4K. But although I don't have anything that can run 4K right now, so kind of a moot point in that regard. But it would make a whole lot easier for seeing some of these details. Kind of wish I could upgrade my camera too and actually get like a good focus, like a DSLR or something like that I could use to, manually focus my camera. Unfortunately, this autofocus just kind of has a mind of its own. And all I'm doing is letting the water actually, fill the bristles of my brush or the paint. It's so thin, it's almost watery. And then when I just touch right inside one of these lines here, it just leaves the brush goes straight onto the surface and tries to fill that in. It's I can't remember what the exact scientific term for it is, but it does make my job doing this a whole lot easier than having to constantly worry, is this going to fill out these areas properly. And try and get in some of these as well. Trying to do a little pre-shading here on these cables or hoses, because when I have to go to paint over them, I don't want that gold to show through on the highlights, in the lowlights. I really want to actually show kind of just the dark in there whenever I get it done. When I was doing my base coat, I had the dilemma of thinking, okay, do I want to color over those or do I not, and go back over and do it later. After a while, I kind of convinced myself that it was probably better off, just coloring them in, and I can always go back and make the changes that I need to later. A lot of techniques that you learn whenever you start doing anything with like model and mini painting, that kind of thing. A lot of techniques that you really you don't think about until you actually get into it, and you're suddenly like, oh wow, that's a handy little bit to know about. I'll get a little touch here of this because I've got just a little bit stuff that was showing. And no, I'm rinsing out and cleaning my brush enough. I'm not worried about cross-contamination. So I'm going to leave him sit there and dry for just a second. Another brush I dropped. There we go, clearing up the old vocal cords, a little hot tea. Dang, we're already 45 minutes in. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. All right. So now for our next step, I need this guy. I'm going to get him a little bit wet. I'm going to get those bristles all nice and flexible. Also get any of the preservative that I put on my brushes out of the bristles. But before we do that, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over and we're going to get all these little spikes and everything. We're going to actually get these with a little bit of that adamantine gray. And again, I'm not super worried about exactness here and making sure I get absolutely everything perfect, because I can go back and correct little mistakes. with this later. That's not a big deal. But I have also gained enough control that usually I can keep the paint right where I want it to go and not where it wants to go so much. Which is definitely a trick that has taken me a very long time to master. There we go. We got some nice little definition there on that arm. Come on. No. There we go. Got a little bit of color and definition coming into it right now. Yeah, see, now that we're doing now that we're actually doing all the detail work, now is when the fun really gets started. Because now we're going to start adding more colors, more depth, more complexity to the overall product to make it look very, very nice. And don't be afraid to go to a different brush that might be smaller than what you've been using. Because sometimes, especially if you're worried about, making a big mess and getting paint where it doesn't belong, just downgrade to a smaller brush. You don't have anybody to prove. I mean, even I'm sitting here, I don't have anything I got to prove to anybody. I'm just painting the way I want to paint. I'm doing it my way. And I'm enjoying it. So he's got a better technique. I'm happy to listen. My ego is not so overblown that I can't sit there and learn from other people. I think that's a big failing in our society, especially today, is that nobody's willing to admit when they're wrong. I know, probably nothing new, but hey, yeah, is what it is. I kind of have the mentality that if I screw up and I tell you guys the wrong thing, then, hey, call me on it and I'll issue a correction. Now, I might have a situation where I act or do a certain thing a certain way, and I might have a reason for doing it that way. So, I mean, I'm still willing to listen, though. Again, my ego is not so overblown that I'm not willing to listen to what somebody else has to say. That might challenge my worldview. I might not always agree with everything, and I might have my own varying opinions, but I'm still willing to at least listen to you. Another one of those things that I think is missing a lot from modern society, such as it were. Everybody's got to have their own opinion. And if you are lockstep with their opinion, then you're wrong. That's not the world that I was brought up in. It's not the world I want to live in either, because frankly, I know more idiots than I know smart people. And given the fact that I definitely know for a fact that I do not know everything that there is to know about any given subject that you can name, Trust me, I might be very good at mini painting, but I know there are a lot of other people out there who are way better than me. Doesn't make my technique or their technique any better or worse than the other. It's just what it is. Apparently, whenever I start painting, I get that very Bob Ross vibe or something like that, and I just start yakking about whatever happens to be on my mind. Okay. So I got those bands. Now, the vast majority of this, I'm still going to leave that bronze color. But I definitely wanted to get in there and get some definition lines and things of that nature in there. Well, I see that somebody's been watching me for quite a while now, and whoever you are, thank you so much for dropping by my stream. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy what you see. If you do, definitely go down and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to my channel, because on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this is pretty much what I do. Now, I'm not afraid to try something a little different now and again, or if the spirit does move me, about trying something completely off the wall. But unless you're subscribed and you're watching, then you won't really know now, will you? We're actually going to do these end caps in that dark silver. Just add a little more definition and show that they're, they're apart. Instead of working with everything as just being like one cohesive unit, these are constructs. They're made of parts. So they can have things that are a bit more varied. So far, we're coming along pretty nicely. Let me see if we might be able to adjust this a little bit and get a little better picture of what we're working with. Yeah, we're definitely coming along. We're getting some nice definition in there, getting a little bit of more detail. This autofocus is so finicky. There we go. We're definitely looking cool. I'm enjoying this. All right, so got some more spots over here. Let's do a little bit more on these leg spaces here. And I realize I'm not talking too much right now, and I haven't said anything in a while. Kind of got that focus going on, you know? Sometimes you just kind of get in the zone, and that's all that matters at the moment. All right, we're definitely going to get into these wire clusters back here now. All right, we've officially crossed over 1 hour, which usually means we're getting to the point where we're winding things down, but to be completely honest with you, I'm actually quite enjoying this. So, until further notice, we're going to keep it up. There we go. Let's spread that out a little bit. Seems like I missed a couple of spots earlier. So, I went ahead and corrected those. And while we're at it, because I feel like getting a little crazy, let's break out the burnt red Let's at least get a base coat on the eyes and some of the other parts that I want with a little bit of red glow to them later. Okay. All right, there we go. Got the little red eye detail in there. So at least got the base coat. It's kind of a dark burnt red. I'm going to go through later. I'll do some additional, like make them a little brighter and that kind of thing. And I'm going to actually go in. Now I think about it, not with this brush. There we go. Get a little red worked into some of these sigils that are going inside. Now again, these are a darker red right now, but later on, we're going to use a brighter red to kind of go over some of them, brighten them up just a smidge. There we go. Get just a little water in there. Thin it out just a smidge. Not a lot. All right. And I'm noticing a couple areas that I missed to get some of this in there. These coils and these cables and whatnot. And that's the beauty of this, is that if I notice something I missed, I can always go back and correct it. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes little smudges and things like that happen, and it's good to have a little bit of your base color and whatnot available to erase those little mistakes. Here we go, no harm, no foul. So far, looking pretty darn good. All right. So next, I want to go in back to some of these metallic parts and just add definition, add additional lines, colors, stuff, etc. I got some nice copper here. This is sit boy, sit. This is Tamiya XF6 copper. I love using this paint. I really, really do. It has such a unique look to it. Now this, I don't want to use a lot of it because I will easily overwhelm the other colors. But for little details and whatnot, like right here on the back of the arms, this is perfect. And as I'm sure you've noticed, yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of this by the seat of my pants. That's just how I do minis. I'll kind of come up with a little bit of a plan at times, kind of get like a rough idea in my head, but then in the heat of the moment, if I'm sitting here, I'm like, you know what, I would rather do this, or if I think that something else would look cool on it, I'm going to do that. I'm not above changing the plan if and when a situation arises and the conditions are right. That didn't quite work out as well as I'd hoped. So we're going to fix that. Get just a smidge of water here. Take that off. Dab it dry a little bit. Go over the edges. Make sure that we don't lose anything there. Just dab here. And there we go. Like nothing happened. Sometimes making dots, like dotting, like bolts and nuts and things like that, is really hard, labor-intensive work. Because if you mess up once, it's just going to look like a big glob. And you don't want that. And I'm sure there are some folks out there asking, based on what I said earlier in the stream, like, hey, why are you coloring those rivets in the top of the shield copper? I'm like, well, you know what? Quite simply, I thought it looked cool. All right, close that up before anything starts to dry out. We got a nice little top color here. All right, and I can go back and touch up a couple areas I made a little mistake on. No big deal. So, got done. We've got a lot of detail work done already. I think the next couple of days I'm going to go back, touch up a couple spots. I might do that on stream. I might not. Just, doing touch-up work is fine and all, but it can be definitely boring because all I'm doing is going over what's already there and touching up spots. But yeah, the thing is that right now we're in all the detail work, which the detail work is where things are going to really start to pop. And they're going to really start to look cool. The problem is that detail painting, it means that you're painting all of the smallest little bits and bobs and this and that, whatever. So there's not a lot of big, flashy, large area scale painting to be had. It's a lot of painting very small spots and using a lot more precision. Seeing if this might kind of help me out a little bit here. So that way you can see a little bit more of what we've done. Now, not going to work the way I thought. Come on. Please focus. Yep, a minute. Started to get something there. All right, well, that's about as good as I'm probably going to get. So we got some base coat red around some sigils and on the eyes. We got some copper bits on there. We metallic covered, the axe blade and the hammerhead. Got some copper parts in there. I think that's going to do for tonight, but this thing is coming along extremely well. I think I'm going to wait on the base and still wait to color that in until I get a little bit more done, because I've got some work to do here on the feet that I can definitely tell is going to need it. But otherwise, right now, it needs a little time to dry, get some of those colors all soaked in, etc. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. All right, guys. So, with all that being said, and pardon me while my voice gives out again, this has definitely been a bit of a chore on my voice box. All right, guys. So, again, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate every single one of you that, watches, whatnot. And if you get the chance, come check me out live, because I like to do this. But I would love to have like an actual live audience that I can, that can comment on my videos as I'm working, ask questions, and, do stuff so I can directly interact with you, the chat. Because at the end of the day, you guys are the viewers. I'm just providing videos and service and I'm just providing this. But at the end of the day, the chat, the audience, that you guys are the end users that get the chance to actually see what I do and do and be a part of this. So I want to hear more from you. I want to actually see you guys on here if you can. I realize not everybody's, got the ability to be on this time of night, but if you have the opportunity, please definitely come check me out. And as the little ticker below says, please definitely show up here because we're going to be doing, we typically do streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button. If you like what I do, hit that subscribe button down below. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. And I will see you guys later. There may be an additional stream I might sneak in during the weekend, time and situations permitting, but who knows? We'll see how things go. So always keep a check out on, like I said, subscribe. They got that little notification bell, so you'll know whenever I upload new stuff or there's new new live streams that get posted. But otherwise, thank you all. Have a great night. God bless. And enjoy. We got it.